Everyone, thanks for being here. As you know, I really appreciate it. Before I get started, I just want to mention a statistic that most people watching my videos aren't subscribers. I honestly really appreciate your subscription. It costs you nothing. The information I give to you is free, and if you enjoy these videos, the simplest thing I can ask is just to like and subscribe to the channel. It's a small price to pay for free information from a real and an active competitor in the archery community. So, again, if you would like and subscribe, and let's keep this channel strong. So here we are, 3 weeks back from the Lancaster Classic. I hope everyone had a great time and you did your best. You know me, I always have a great time. I did pretty well considering my lack of sleep. I qualified a bit lower than I would have liked, but considering the fact that I went 3 days without sleep and then right into qualification, I can't complain. I shot both rounds in the mid 160s, putting me at a 531, which is right in the middle of the pack for qualification. And then just to be defeated by in eliminations by Demmer. It put an abrupt end to my weekend. A Demmer. It's like he's my Newman and I'm Seinfeld. Demmer. Anyway, I wanted to release this video beforehand, before leaving for the Lancaster Classic, and I thought about it a bit. And then I didn't want to confuse people if they were going to watch this and go into a tournament with a new method of aiming. So I figured people have a system. Let them ride it out, and then when the tournament's over and the dust is settled, give them something new to think about and use and implement for an entire year. Or watch and think about this now, and then over the course of the year, if you want to try this, of course, do it. Yeah, I didn't want to put this out too soon. So most of you who know me and follow me on Facebook or Instagram know that just 2 months ago, I switched over to the dreaded 3-spot. I did it live on the Facebook listeners page. I was shooting and decided to make that transition over. And what did it was last year, as you may know, Reggie, Raymond, Wang competed at the Lancaster Classic and Vegas shoot with the 3-spot. And I thought it was a pretty bold and impressive move. And you know how that worked for him. He did well at both tournaments, winning the Lancaster Classic. And I thought about it a bunch leading up to indoor practice, and literally thought, I could never do that. I can't do that. What if I miss? I'll lose points. I might not make the cut for eliminations, which is what my ultimate goal is, just to play a second day, or get to the second day and I might lose a match because I made the decision to pick a smaller target and I miss outside of the 6 ring. And all of my thoughts about this were fear-based. One of the things I always promote in my coaching is to make a move with confidence. Make the decision and stick to your decision and give it 100% of your efforts. But now I'm contradicting myself by having a fear about a target. So I came to the conclusion that I'm better than this. Normally when I shoot the single spot in practice, I don't shoot outside the 8 ring, much less the 7 or the 6. So this is safe. I just need to have a bit more confidence, practice the 3-spot, and make it my norm. Make it normal for me. The single spot is no longer an option. I made this decision while I was live on the Push Archery Listeners forum on Facebook, and I decided to stick to it. So I'm happy to report that I did it. I practiced the 3-spot. I made it my norm, and I took it to the competition as well. Scary. And I never missed. I never missed the target. But I promise the entire time, those negative thoughts were in the back of my mind, just kind of gnawing at me, the what ifs and what happens if. Even the day of qualification, I considered going to the single spot. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. I'll stay with the single spot. But then I thought to myself, well, what the hell are you doing? So I said, stick to the plan. And I did stick to the plan on what I was doing with these targets. And now I want to share it with you with hopes that maybe you can utilize it in the future. So the purpose of this video is simply to get people to think differently about how they aim. All too often, we just kind of spring into action and don't give much thought as to what it is exactly we are doing. We just want to shoot arrows at the target and maybe neglect to take the time to learn proper form and technique, or maybe we understand proper form and technique but don't stop and give the aim any real thought. And this is exactly what I have been doing, is thinking about the aim and practicing it without actually shooting an arrow. Now, I want to be clear. I'm absolutely from the school of thought that, excuse me, aiming is detrimental to our shot process and should not be the focus of what we do. And that's the point. I wanted to create something for myself that was fast, easy, and repeatable. I also believe that for most of us, the visual stimulus of the target, that little yellow dot, can cause anxiety and maybe lock us up or cause us to shoot prematurely or target panic. That little guy right there. Well, what if we remove the visual stimulus? We all shoot really well during blank bale training, but when we add the visual stimuli or stimulus, the game changes. I've proven this over and over again with students here at home or wherever I'm coaching. So let's talk about the aiming standards, specifically speaking of this target, the 40 centimeter indoor target. Okay, I made these paper cutouts to help demonstrate a small and a large diameter arrow from my visual perspective, and I think most people's visual perspective. So first, when it comes to aiming, we have the most common and or standard, which is, the lollipop or the 6 o'clock hold. Most people do this. Then there's point on, we'll call point on, or which I understand it to be. I've had most people that I've talked to refer to this as what their point on is. I've also been told that this is a method of point on. For me, this is a point on, and what I'll call this is an eclipse. And, I ask a lot of people what their aim is, and I get many answers. There's also people that think they're aiming in a particular way, and it's usually some version of a 6 o'clock hold. And this is what I want to get at. I'm going to use myself as the example because there's no one I know better than me. But when I would aim at this particular target prior to switching to the 3 spot, I would do this. At least I think I was doing this. And then sometimes it would be this, or sometimes it would be this. Well, maybe sometimes it would be this. This is me doing a point on at my distance with this arrow, a large diameter. But what happens if we think we're doing this, but we're really doing this or this? or this. We're not quite where we think we are. It moves under tension of the string and pressure of a tournament. Holding still is really difficult. And what if we are all doing this? And we are all doing this. We're moving around. So your hold might not be exactly what you think it is. Okay, so I'm going to give you a drill you can do. Next time you're at the range, or if you can do this at home, it's even better. Get yourself one of these and put it at 18 meters or 20 yards. Set it on the wall or put it up on your target and get your arrow. And I have a skinny and a thicker shaft. This is, I wouldn't consider a 21 a fat shaft, but I would definitely consider a Parallel Pro a skinny shaft, and kind of the norm in size, kind of standard in size for a skinny arrow. This RX7 21 is maybe on the cusp of getting bigger, but I would consider 23s a little fatter. This is kind of not very big. But get your target, hang it up on your wall and or on your target bail at 20 yards, and hold your arrow up and look down the arrow pretty much where your crawl would be. And that's not too hard to do. So if you take an arrow and you make your crawl and it's an inch and change, you can see it gets very close to our eye. And look down the arrow at the target and do it like you would normally, and take a visual snapshot when you're holding this thing on the yellow or however you aim. And then burn that visual in your brain of what you think you're doing, and then repeat it over and over again. And then notice or question yourself, is it in the exact same spot every time? Probably not. We do move, and that's what we call float. And float is normal. Float, an archery float at full draw is completely normal. Compound archers experience it. Barebow, longbow, Olympic recurve, we all experience float. But when it's in completely controlled environment, like doing this and holding it down, holding it and looking down at your target, we even float then. And this is quite controlled. There's no tension built in. We're just holding it there. And you'll see it moves. That's the float. Now, do it under the tension of a full draw. Load the arrow, draw. We're not going to shoot. This is just a way to think about your aim without actually shooting. Right? I want you to think about what you're doing before you do it. Don't just act. So draw, full tension, hold, and watch. It moves more, I bet. It may move more. It may move less. Depends on what that tension does for your system. You know, your skeletal system or your musculoskeletal system. Now, when you're looking downrange and you're looking at your target, I bet it kind of looks like this. But what if under tension, the float makes it difficult to hold in the exact same spot every time? When we're under physical tension of the bow and mental tension of the tournament, which we know as tournament pressure, we've all experienced this at some point in our lives. Even the best archers in the world do. It's normal. Now, when we're under tension, physical and mental, and we start to aim, what can happen is we can get locked on. And getting locked on is a topic for another time. But what it really does is keeps us from moving. It keeps us from our actions that we're truly supposed to be doing while we're taking a shot, not aiming. Now, what if we have a method that locks us onto target on purpose easily, then we don't have to fight mentally, and we can go through the rest of our process easily. Well, when I started shooting this 3-spot, I was up to doing the same old thing, aiming here. But then as I got to thinking and holding up the arrow like I demonstrated earlier at 18 meters, I noticed that the circumference of the arrow of this 21 size pretty much ate up the entire target. Now, again, using the 21 at this target, I found it much easier to aim and hold than trying to battle this other method under tension. Even under tension and doing this method, they're tending to be less float because I'm not dancing about the gold looking for where it is exactly I am to hold my aim. I simply draw the bow, I put the arrow on the target, and then finish the rest of the process. It's simple, and I want you to try it. Hold your arrow up and put it on the target, and notice how much of the circumference eats up the target. Well, you can start here. Notice how much of the circumference eats up the target. And I noticed that this works pretty well. You see I wrote it on here. From a 19 to a 23 diameter arrow, I don't see the need to shoot any more than a 23. I actually don't see the need to shoot over a 21, but that's a different story. Okay, so what if we shoot smaller diameter arrows? Okay, I do that. I shoot the Parallel Pro like I demonstrated as well, and standard X10s. And I noticed when I use those, I fall within the 8 ring or the red circle. My guess is you will probably experience a similar thing. Okay, so you might ask, why doesn't the single spot work for this? And I'm not saying it doesn't, but here's what I've noticed when I was trying to shoot at this target and aiming the same way. When you use a single spot on these particular diameter arrows, whether skinny or fat, you add another ring of the same color. Point being, here, there's only one blue, and I cover the blue. Here, I'm adding now another ring. What I found in my case is that when I aim here, I end up going clear into the red outer ring. The reason is at 18 meters, you really can't differentiate this black ring dividing the two blue rings. So you shouldn't have to work that hard to find it. It just takes extra time. Even if it's a second, it's too much. The reason I like this now is because it's simple to not have to mentally and visually search for another ring. I simply draw the bow, take the circumference of the arrow, and eclipse the blue ring. There's a caveat here, and that is the skinny arrow does work on the single spot. But we're finding more and more people prefer to shoot the larger diameter indoor. It's a little slower and a little more stable. So if you want to use a skinny arrow indoor on the single spot, go for it. I'd still aim at the red versus the yellow. And again, this one I found is the 0.182 to the 0.206. I have, guys, if you saw my last video, you saw how many arrows I have, all different types, sizes, manufacturers, you name it. I have them to test and do this visual. And again, I'll show you with a large diameter on this target, it simply does not quite work. I can go blue to blue, but what I found myself doing was actually going into the red. I was searching something else that had a harder line. When I'm here, it goes right in. Now, again, I just said that the skinny arrow does work, and you can see its diameter. And do this, hold your arrow up, just hold it up near your eye where you would typically have that anchored, and look down and you will see it's going to be similar to this, and it will fit right inside that red or pretty dang close. So you can use this target with the skinny arrow. You can use this one with the skinny arrow if you feel so bold. But if you're not that confident, go right here. Go to this guy. Now, there's one more important factor to this whole method that makes it work even better. But guess what? You're going to have to wait for the part 2. And hit that like, hit that subscribe button, get that notification so you know when it comes up. The point of this today was simply to get you to stop wanting to just shoot the bow and start more thinking about shooting the bow, thinking about how you actually aim. Practice with this right here, just looking, or just look at the target, or take inventory of your process before you shoot. What exactly is it that I'm doing when I take that shot? Me personally, I don't want to have to focus too much on the aim. In archery, believe it or not, in my opinion, your eyes are your enemy, because you end up getting locked on, or you end up getting so much information that the stimulus causes you to shoot. And we all know this is target panic. Anyway, I hope you kind of get the gist of this method. I'm not trying to tell you that this is the method. You still do your method, but try something new. Don't be afraid to step out of the box a little bit and try something different. Never say, I can't do that. I hear it all the time with regards to many of the steps of archery. Never say, I can't do that. It will not help you. But stop and think, how can I do that? If it works for others, it could potentially work for you. It's that simple. Anyway, I'm going to end it here. Wait for part 2 to learn about the other step involved in this aiming method. It will be out shortly, I promise. And also watch for the longbow series and the wood arrow series that I'm doing. And that's it. I hope you have a good night. And remember, make it look good. Peace.